Heisman Watch 2025 fall practices are just around the corner, and it is never too early to start talking about that Heisman race. We will be looking at the top 6 contenders according to the DraftKings odds right now, and they will also be giving out one long shot at the end. Let's get started. We're going to go top down to the bottom in terms of the DraftKings odds rankings of these top 6 guys as they stand today. So, no surprise, number 1, leader in the clubhouse right now as we look at the preseason is going to be Arch Manning. Right now, DraftKings has him at a plus 650. He has the shortest odds to win the Heisman. So let's look at to why, and maybe we'll break down some pros and some cons for each of these guys. As you can kind of see, should I bet them now? Should I bet them later? Should I bet them at all? We're going to get into all of that, starting here with Arch Manning. So the pros. He's got the last name. His last name is Manning. So he's going to be getting the benefit of the doubt all season from the media, and this is a media award. We need to remember that. This is not a fan award. This is a media award. His last name is Manning, and that is going to help. 2, he's at Texas. He has one of the best head coaches in terms of being able to scheme things up, scheme players open. He should be able to have a lot of success this year with Steve Sarkisian. His talent looks on paper, everything that we hear, to be well ahead of Quinn Ewers, and Quinn Ewers played very well for Steve Sarkisian at Texas for those last 2 years. So the other piece with Texas is they are a high-profile school. They're going to be getting high-profile games. This is great for if you're trying to win that Heisman Trophy, and the schedule breaks really, really well for him. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I want to bet him right away, and let's get into why. So there are a few cons here with Arch. This is his first year starting, so he is not a second-year starter. A lot of the other guys up here on this list are second-year starters. 1, he's the shortest odds. He's a first-year starter. He plays in his first 6 games. He's got 3 really, really tough ones with Ohio State on the road. He's going to have Florida on the road, and he's going to have Oklahoma in Dallas at that Cotton Bowl for the Red River Shootout. So he's got 3 games that he is not going to have the home crowd on his side in the first 6 weeks. So where do we go from here? Taking him now is going to have to be a big, big no for me. You're buying high right now. You're buying as high as he can possibly be. He's plus 650, and he's the shortest odds right now. So you're buying high. I don't like buying high, especially on these Heisman candidates, especially when he's got these 3 games to kind of lead off the season that are going to be very, very challenging. That doesn't mean I don't want to bet him later in the season, though. So he's got those 3 tough games. Let's say he drops 1. Maybe he even drops 2. 2 losses is not going to prohibit Texas from being in the SEC championship game and potentially even going to the playoffs with even a bye. 2 losses is not going to prevent Texas from doing that. So you could drop that game on the road to Ohio State and then lose to either Florida or Oklahoma and make your way back through the rest of the season. They also play Georgia very, very late. That right there is the true, to me, make or break game for Arch Manning's Heisman candidacy, right? If he does well in those first 3 games, they win big. They look great against Ohio State. They look great against Florida. They look great against Oklahoma. But then he lays an egg against Georgia late in the season. He's not winning the Heisman. So to me, you wait. Maybe you see them lose, or they don't lose and they're just rolling through, and you're not really going to have a good opportunity. And just because you don't bet him now, that doesn't mean you wasted anything. You can't go out and bet somebody at plus 650 when they got those 3 games to lead off the season. And at the end of the day, it's the Georgia game that's going to really make or break Arch's Heisman candidacy. Moving on, we go to the second quarterback in the SEC in Garrett Nussmeier, playing for the LSU Tigers. DraftKings has him right now at plus 850. So let's go straight into the pros here on Nussmeier. Explosive talent on that offense for LSU. This is his second year starting. He looked good at times last year. He looked even great at times last year. Returning starter, I love to see that. We look at the cons. He was a little bit up and down at times last year. I don't love that. Now, he opens up on the road at Clemson, and we're going to talk about Klubnik later here and why I think this is a good thing for Klubnik and a bad thing for Nussmeier if you're trying to bet preseason. And I don't think you can bet Nussmeier here preseason. So you're starting on the road with Clemson, and then you also play Florida in the first three. But similar to Texas, right? 2 losses, especially if one of those is outside of the conference, is really not that big of a deal, especially if you can look really sharp down the stretch when you play, Alabama. You have those other big games on the schedule. It's the SEC. Every week is a big game, and LSU should be in that playoff hunt all year, even if they drop those 2 of those first 3 to Clemson and Florida. They could start 1-2 and make the playoffs. So to me, you got to wait until at least after the Clemson game, and if they win the Clemson game, maybe wait till after the Florida game. I don't personally really like Nussmeier to win the Heisman this year. I think Arch has that name recognition, and Nussmeier's a little short right now at plus 850. Now, maybe they lose to Clemson in week 1 on the road, shouldn't really be a knock against Nussmeier unless he looks absolutely terrible, which I don't think he'll look that bad. But you wait, right? Because if he loses that first game, LSU loses that first game, which they're underdogs. They are not supposed to win that first game. That plus 850 could double, could get even higher than a plus 1,600. And that is when I would look to play on Nussmeier, depending on how he looked and knowing that he has Florida and he's got other games coming down the schedule. If he looks good, they lose, and that jumps up to like a plus 1,400, plus 1,500, plus 1,600. I think that's the time you want to roll and go take Nussmeier. Third shortest odds on the board also belong to a quarterback, Cade Klubnik at plus 950. Again, these are on DraftKings, and if you are going to bet any of these guys, please don't just blindly bet on DraftKings. Make sure you are shopping around for the best number. I'm just kind of using DraftKings to set that barometer of where the public and the pros kind of see all these guys fitting. So Klubnik right now is plus 950, just behind Nussmeier. And from a preseason perspective, I like him a lot more at this number than I like Nussmeier at plus 850. So why? They open up with their hardest game of the season at home against the aforementioned Garrett Nussmeier-led LSU Tigers. Outside of that, they have a pretty easy schedule. The ACC looks to be a little down year over year to where they were last year. The cons for Klubnik here is really any slip up outside of LSU, and that is probably going to kill the bid. They're going to need to go either 11-1 or 12-0, which I think they should. And they should be favored to do so, but they are going to need to do that for Klubnik to have a chance to be in New York. So, with that said, to me, if you are going to bet Klubnik, it has to be right now. His odds are only going to get shorter after that LSU game, assuming that they win. And if they don't win, I don't know that I'd really want a whole lot to do with Cade Klubnik from a Heisman perspective. After that, assuming that they win and they are favored, those odds are just going to shrink all year as Clemson beats up on these lower level ACC teams. Moving on to my least favorite pick on the entire board, and this has nothing to do with the amount of talent this guy has, is Jeremiah Smith from the Ohio State University. Is he the best receiver in college football? Almost certainly. There is no way I can take a receiver at plus 1,100 before the season even starts. Now, if we get into the season and it's a Travis Hunter situation where he's just putting up numbers, or an Ashton Genty situation from last year where he's just putting up crazy numbers week after week after week, sure, I could jump in on that. But even still, I wouldn't want to jump in on anything more than plus 1100, plus 1000. He's sitting at plus 1100 right now. Receivers do not tend to win this award. Last year was a little bit of an aberration, and you kind of saw that in the draft class, right? You didn't really see a lot of quarterbacks get taken. You saw Ward go number 1 overall. Shador obviously fell off the face of the earth. There's a lot more quarterback talent this year, and a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be in their second or even third year as a starter outside of Arch Manning on this list. So to me, I do not see a world where you can take a receiver to win the Heisman this year, especially at a plus 1100. This is not an Ashton Genty situation where he's going to be the whole offense. And there's just a lot of quarterback talent out there, especially in these big SEC and Big Ten conferences, that I really don't like taking Smith to win the Heisman. Is he the best receiver in college football? Yes. I'm not trying to take anything away from Smith here. I don't want to make Ohio State fans mad. I don't think you can take a receiver plus 1100 this year preseason. Maybe, again, in the middle of the season, he's on pace to break some records. Sure. Maybe we can reevaluate and look at Jeremiah Smith then. The next 2 guys on the list are both SEC quarterbacks and are both kind of known sleepers. I don't even know if you can call either of these guys sleepers at this point. Everybody seems to be talking about both of them. First, Lenora Sellers at South Carolina, right now at plus 1,600. So, why do people like him so much? They remember him from last year, ripping off some big runs. He's a big guy. Almost Cam Newton size, a little bit smaller, but that's the comparison he's been drawing. And the comparison he's going to draw as we get closer to the season. So the pros with Sellers is he is probably the best athlete at quarterback in the nation. And he will have the ability to run away with this thing. So the flip side of being able to run away with this thing, why is he able to run away with this thing? The con, they have a brutal schedule. He also has some health concerns with his playing style. He is going to run a lot, and he got hurt a couple times last year. So I don't love that. He was a little bit up and down at times, but he has all of the physical tools to put it over the top. So I think if you were going to bet Sellers, it's got to be now. He could start to become a runaway train with this thing, with those odds getting shorter and shorter, especially if they look really good early. They don't have a super tough game until LSU on October 11th. So he's going to be building up a lot of steam coming into that game. So plus 1,600 is probably the best you're going to get on Sellers this year. Until they play LSU, and they have a bunch of tough games after that too, which I don't know if you would want to wait, right? Because why would you want to wait for that? Because all that's going to happen is you're going to lose, which is going to hurt his Heisman chances. What you're hoping for is you kind of take him here at plus 1,600 now. They run that table early, and then maybe you get a cash out option that you like. Maybe you don't, or you just let it ride. But you could be looking at the Heisman favorite going into that LSU game on October 11th, especially when we go through that list of guys we just talked about. Let's say there's a world where Manning, he drops a game to Florida, Oklahoma, Ohio State, maybe both. You have Nussmeier. Maybe they beat Clemson, but then they drop to Florida in their first 3, and now Klubnik's out of it too. Jeremiah Smith, he's not winning. He's a receiver. That's probably not going to happen this year. Now you could be looking at Sellers, who was your 5th highest odds, now all the way up to number 1, maybe a plus 500 or something. So if you're going to bet Sellers to win the Heisman, I would do it now. I am going to stay off of that. Their schedule really scares me, and all of the hype going into the season on him scares me too. Everybody's kind of looking at him to take that jump to be a true Heisman contender, and just South Carolina, they're good, but they do not have anywhere near the best roster in the SEC, and that is a big component to trying to win the Heisman in that conference. To win the Heisman, similar story here to Sellers. We have a great athlete in Florida, DJ Lagway, at plus 1,800. So The pros and cons are going to be very similar to what we just saw with Sellers. Pro, he is a fantastic athlete, and he's coming in as a second-year starter. He didn't start the whole season last year, but he got a lot of playing time, and he looked really, really good. The con for him is he's the fourth SEC quarterback on this board alone. That means you're already starting 4 in the hole in your own conference. Their schedule is also going to be very, very tough. We've heard about them playing a couple of these other quarterbacks already on the schedule, especially early in the season. So they have a brutal schedule from September 13th to October 11th. They play LSU, Miami, Texas, and Texas A&M all in a row. But then it gets real soft coming down the stretch. So my advice on Lagway is different than Sellers. I don't want to play him now. I want to see where Florida is at after that super tough stretch, because it's all upside down the stretch. So if they go 3-1, even 2-2, as they go through that stretch, there are a lot of very good, easy, high-profile, winnable games for Florida where DJ Lagway can really, really go off and show the world what he's got in terms of talent. So I would almost wait, because they are probably going to drop one of those games in that middle of that stretch, which is going to drop him probably down to like that plus 2,000, plus 2,500 range. But they should be in serious contention for an SEC title shot down the stretch, just with the way that their schedule starts to shake out. Last guy I want to take a look at, and this is my favorite long shot on the board, and you gotta have to go down a little bit to find him on DraftKings. And when I saw this number, I was very surprised, and I will actually be taking this myself. My long shot right now is at plus 7,000 to win the Heisman, and that is going to be the quarterback for USC, Jaden Mayava. Again, plus 7,000. So why do I like him? He's a year 2 starter. Again, didn't start the full season. Similar situation to Lagway. Looked really good at times. This is Lincoln Riley's guy. And we know what can happen when Lincoln Riley gets his guy. Lincoln has produced 3 Heisman winners in the past with Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Caleb Williams. We look at USC's schedule. They have no Ohio State. They have no Penn State. They have a clear 10-win path. They only have 2 difficult road games, Notre Dame and Oregon. Notre Dame's not even in their conference. So they win all of their home games. They lose the one tough Big Ten road game. They are playing for a Big Ten championship. They are playing for a Big Ten championship. If they're playing for a Big Ten championship, that means Mayava is going to look good. He's got a great opportunity to look good with the way this schedule is breaking, and this is Lincoln's guy. Again, this is Lincoln's guy. He's produced 3 Heisman winners. Mayava at plus 7,000. I love this. Now, there are some downsides to this. He's starting way, way, way back in the pack, and there does tend to be some anti-West Coast bias at times. People just not staying up to watch these games. However, USC's in the Big Ten these days. I think that helps a lot, and people are looking for USC and Lincoln Riley to take that step to become a possible playoff contender, and I think this is the year that they do it. A playoff bid plus a few strong primetime performances, which he will have the opportunity to do, and they do play Notre Dame and on the road, and that's tough. But that's a high-profile game, and I don't think Notre Dame is as good this year as they were last year. And we also look at Oregon. I think the story is the same deal with them. I think people are expecting them to be great. They have spent the last 3 years with very, very senior quarterbacks. They had Bo Nix for 2 years, and then they had Dylan Gabriel for a year. Those guys had a lot of experience. Dante Moore is good. He can be good. We haven't seen it. We saw it with Gabriel at Oklahoma. We saw it with Gabriel at UCF. We saw it a little bit with Nix at Auburn. He needed that transfer, but we saw it that first year with Nix, and then he exploded that last year before becoming that first round draft pick who's continued to excel in the NFL. I don't know that Dante Moore is going to be on that level. So there is a path where USC could be an 11-win team. If USC is an 11-win team, Mayav is going to be in New York. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will have a lot more college football content coming for you in the next few weeks as we rev up towards that week 0. That is all for me, and until next time, remember to bet smart and lift heavy.